sent to me by Tarpity. And I want to thank her for that, because this is extremely very interesting, and it goes towards something I was talking about on another show. So she probably sent me this. So I want to do this, but I'm going to do is I'm not going to play the video. I'm just going to play the audio, because I want you to focus on what they're saying. And a lot of times when you see video, you get lost on what the, you don't listen to what they're saying. That's why podcasts are extremely big nowadays, because people can actually focus on what the people are actually saying. So we're going to do that here, because I need you to understand this. So what this is a like a think tank committee group, basically, they're calling it. And they brought on a person to talk about how the pandemic is affecting people. But I'm going to use the same mental aspect of this for what is actually happening that we see in some of these channels that we watch that are out there in regards to the Nasaran and everything else that's going on. So let's just take a listen, and I'll stop it as we go.
One is always so, that there were these things, my body, my choice, everyone's so aware of that there shouldn't be any transgressional things, that you respect the limits of the other, the physical limits, especially, and psychological limits. And all of a sudden, all that is gone, everyone is really just, or at what we have here, government is forcing you to do things you don't want, and neighbors are forcing you or pushing you to do things you don't want. And it's a very strange dynamics. Yeah, I'm curious what you have to say about this.
It really is. What we're looking at is from the micro to the macro example. So in the micro example, we have the individual and their relationship. For example, an abusive relationship that an individual is in, or the relationship the individual has with the government. But then as we move along the continuum to the macro, we see systems forming. We see families, workplaces, organizations, social groups, and society at large. And we see the same patterns from the individual, from the micro level to the macro. What happens in the systems, starting from the family all the way through society, is it takes on additional characteristics because the system is greater than the sum of all the individual parts that make it up. So what we can look at is the appearance of these same patterns of abuse. And I think one of the most important things to look at is the cognitive dissonance. Mm-hmm. Cognitive dissonance, for example, at the individual level. Let's say you have someone that you love, a sister, a friend, someone in an abusive relationship, and you sit them down and you say, look, I think you're being abused. This happened, that happened, that happened. And what you're doing is you're presenting evidence, facts, logic to this person about what you're noticing. But what happens? That person is not going to understand. They're not going to accept what you're saying. They're going to start to provide excuses, explanations, rationalizations that counter every point you're making. And if you insist on showing them the facts and the evidence, they'll start to attack you so they can dismiss what you're saying. Why? Because all of this information that you're presenting, this evidence and these facts, creates this deep mental conflict with what they truly want to believe. They want to believe this person is the love of their life, or they want to believe that their abusive parent loves them and wants the best for them. And this mental conflict is irreconcilable. So what happens is the brain, and not the logical part of the brain, but the more primitive parts of the brain, goes into denial. It's like a short circuit on an electrical system. This is a built-in survival mechanism into the human being. But unfortunately, this is also what keeps people stuck in abusive relationships, because they stay stuck in that state of denial, of defense, where they can't see the truth. So there really is no waking people up to the abuse. There is no presenting them with sufficient amounts of truth and evidence and logic that will snap them out. How does a person come out of that is like a frying pan to the head lesson. It's something so shocking that it pierces their denial. And the truth becomes a visceral experience, not a logical experience, not an intellectual experience, but a visceral experience through which the person can no longer unsee what was just seen. And so we see that same dynamic, the cognitive dissonance. We see lots of individuals in the cognitive dissonance. Many people want to believe that their government wants the best for them, that the government is there to take care of them, to protect for them, to provide for them in some kind of way. And they would never do such a thing, such as that which we're observing now in the world. And we can even look at terminology. It's amazing the abuse of language that they've done since the beginning, since 2020, when this hypnotic induction began into this trance. Words like social distancing, This phrase in itself elicits cognitive dissonance. Why? Because these two words are complete opposites. We have social, which means connection. And to the mammalian brain, because humans are mammals, social means safe. Being connected with other mammals and other humans makes us feel safe. It makes the nervous system feel safe. Distancing is the exact opposite. It's a disconnection. It's not social. It makes us feel unsafe. And when then we put these two words together, social and distancing, which evoke completely opposite feelings and understandings, the brain enters into that short circuit, into denial. So it becomes very difficult to think when we're in that state.
Okay. So basically, and this is where I want people to understand another thing that, me and Will are doing in our own special way. The brain is separating. So what you do is you take people and you social distance them. You make the brain get confused. It's these subtle words, these subtle subliminal messages, right? Subliminal messages were out at one time, were in advertising, and they were outlawed because they're like, whoa, that's way too powerful. The split second of something that your brain sees that your eyes may or may not see was so powerful that they're like, whoa, we got to get rid of that. And then you weren't allowed to use that anymore, and that was subliminal messaging. So we have to understand that our brain functions in a specific way, and the brain says, okay, we all want to be safe. We all want survival. That's the key. That's the meaning of life, is to survive. How do we survive? What do we need to do to survive? We need to eat. We need to do this. We need to do that. And being a part of something and a social creature that we are, we want to be safe within the group, right? You're safe within the group. We're not wolves where they can wander around. We're deer, basically, sheep, and we need to be safe within the group. So you bring this stuff that you basically oxymoron it, social distancing. What? And you basically start to break down that thought process of being safe and being connected, so you become separate. Okay? Now it goes into the fact that, why am I here? What is happening, right? So now you've taken the brain and you've kind of split it in half, and you've broken the fact of being connected with things that you trust. Things like your church or your game night and all these other stuff where you're in these group and you're hanging out with these people, whatever that might be. It doesn't have to, it's not always religious. It could be anything. But you can't do that anymore, okay? So what happens is you get to a point in your head that you seek that out. Okay, you seek out the need for that safety, right? Then the social media comes in, and I'm going to do this in parts. I'm going to have to break this up because this is this important. So this is going to be part one. So you seek out that need for something, and then you fall into your truth. You fall into the awakening. You fall into the fact that you believe Donald Trump is talking to you through your phone even though it's not off. You believe JFK is coming down. You believe Nassar is coming out, because these are your fears. Your fears are not having enough money to take for your kids. Your fear is not having this structure and having this need to be taken care of. You need this to happen. This is what should happen. This is what they're there for. And I want you to understand is that it's so bad that we are focusing on one individual. We are focusing on one position of government, which is the President of the United States, which, to be completely honest, is a part of the mental game that they play on us, right? The President of the United States is not that important of a person to you, to me. They're important of a person to other countries, in regards to military action, trading, and things like that. They're a very important person. Who leads the United States is more important to, as the president, is more important to China, Russia, Canada, and everything else than they truly should be to us. The president doesn't make laws, but everybody gets fixated on executive orders. The Congress, people that actually make your laws should be the ones that you're focusing on. Those should be the actual important people that can actually change your life, that actually make laws that affect each and every one of us, not the president. But since we've separated everybody, we've now focused it on who the president of the United States should be, right? It doesn't matter. If we had an all Republicans, let's say we had 99% Republican Congress right now, or Senate, or House, whatever you want to do, anyone, would it matter if Biden was president? Would it matter? No, it wouldn't. It would not matter. Be great, and he can veto it, but then they can get overturned, and so on and so on. So it is those things that you have to realize that the power that truly affect us are not the person that we're all focusing on, that we want us to lead. That's a dictatorship. And this is part of this breakdown. Now, they're going to go into a lot of things. So it becomes that subversion thing. So no matter what people want to say, no matter what facts they bring, what truth they bring, what actual evidence they bring to somebody, they get to a point that they can't get out of that. They can't get out of that. I said I was on a show yesterday that we've disagreed in regards to certain things, right? In regards to, it's okay to call someone out. It's okay to say you're wrong. It's okay to do this. Where his impression was it wasn't that big of a deal. There's not that many people. My thing is there is a lot more people than people have this mentality than people think. Because you have to understand that we're not all equal in regards to our processing things in our head. We're not all equal in regards to our intelligence levels. And as we lower the intelligence levels of society, it's easier to take those people and make them do what you want them to do because they don't have that logical thought process. And he used the term that kid brain, right? That kid brain that doesn't truly process critical thinking. That's the difference between the adult brain and the kid brain. You know, the critical thinking aspect of your brain to reference your life experience and your learning, to put that together with what you're seeing in front of you today is important. And this is going to go way over the heads of some of the people that we normally shout out on this channel, or we call out, or we talk to. It's way over the top of their heads. They're never going to get it. I mean, I wish they would try to catch this like they try to study planes, because both of these things are at about the same altitude to them. This conversation and the planes that they're watching are easily at the same altitude, and unfortunately there's no software program to actually catch what I'm talking about, but there is a software program to watch the planes. It's unfortunate. It scares me. It is one of the reasons I did team up with Will and I did do this is because I see this, and maybe people are going to say, well, I don't see it as a problem. I do. It is. Intelligence and the people with intelligence and the ability to think of this, they don't want to, they're out of this side of this. There it is. It was like when I played hockey, right? This is part of the podcast. This is some of the stuff I'm going to upload to the podcast so that it's not just, it's me and Will, but it's Will sometimes, it's me sometimes, and it's me and him sometimes. But I played hockey, and all I remember is when I played hockey, I was at a high level hockey. My brother was even higher. He was more of a finesse skater. I was more of a, defensive, get the puck out of the corners, come get some, bro. But the levels that we played at were still very high, and kids would come in and be like, hey, I want to play on the team that you're on, because during the summer we would pick a team that we would put together, a team that we wanted to play with, and we'd go play summer hockey together. But there'd be guys that would show up that would be like, oh, I'm the best in my thing and I want to be on your team, and they'd step on the ice and I'm like, oh my God, they're not that good. But the issue was they were the best at the level they were playing at, so they thought that was the level of everybody. And then they get on the ice with us, and it was like, okay, damn. So because you're at the top of the game, because you're that big fish in that small pond, there's an ocean out there to swim in, and you might not even be even ready for it. And this is unfortunately where people are. They're not ready to truly, not everybody, but a lot of them aren't ready to truly accept the fact that there might be at the extent of their processing of information, and they have to be something has to fill in these blanks, because these blanks were created in your brain for a purpose. Now, one of the things she says, and like I said, this is going to be part one, there's going to be multiple parts on this. One of the things she says is, well, how do we get these people out of this? And it's going to be that trauma event that gets you out of that shock and awe that says, okay, there's no other way for me to explain this one. I can't do it. I can't do it. And maybe that shock event is December 31st. Maybe that's what we take. And maybe that's one of the reasons why we're going to have a December 31st party, because it needs to be a shock and awe. There cannot be another moving of the goalposts. There can't be. The people that are close, that are at these points, that are in these situations, in this mental state, need that shock and awe. That's why I call people out, because to be called out nowadays is shock and awe. For someone to say, you come on my show and debate me, you're wrong, you're the problem, is shocking. We don't do that anymore. I mean, at one point we did. Let's face it. At one point, we'd be doing something, and if you were doing something stupid, your dad's friend could smack you in the back of the head and keep you in line. Because we did that as a society. As a society, we policed our own. We understood which direction we should go. We understood that in society, there was a role to play. Who you were in your house and who you were in your head wasn't projected out, because that would actually hurt society sometimes. And to live in that role, that's a social role, you needed to fit in to do that. It's unfortunate, and everybody says, well, it's unfair, and I want to be who I want to be. Too bad. But that's what we push. We now push a non-social role, a non-grouping, a non-communicative aspect. We now push that. We push individualism. We push you to not be communicative, because what do you do in your community? Things get done. On an individual role, you all just sit there and stare. I, the people, has to change to we, the people. But we've broken we, the people, so bad that the only way to get back we, the people, is to be I, the people. Not I, the person, because that's what they want, but I, the people. Right? And I talked about this. But the problem is that this is what we're seeing. And I'm giving you right now the intellectual conversation in regards to what I do and why I'm doing it with Will and how we're going to handle it. Now, we do it in a funny way. We joke around. We throw it out there. But it's also going to be that call out, that blunt force trauma. You debate me. Bring it. Bring it. That scares the hell out of people. They actually have to respond and answer. It's that point that it's like, okay, I'm now asking you to tell me what is going on in your head. Why do you think this is? And this is where society takes its turn. From this point on, it either goes up or down. From the point of call out, you either double down on it or you accept that, okay, JFK Sr. might not be coming back. But you've got to pick a side because somebody's calling you out on it. So now I'm going to show you that, okay, he's not coming back. Where do you go from there? Do you stick to your plan? Do you double down on it? Do you say, yes, he is? Not only is JFK Jr. coming back, but so is JFK Sr. and JFK's dad coming back too. Or do you say, okay, they're not coming back? There are a lot of people on the upper levels of intelligence, and remember, there are levels, and unfortunately, some of the people that are on the level of the people hanging out in Dallas and doing this stuff you are the lower level. You are the pawns. You're the ones that I'm telling you right now, there are levels, and you think that there's the bottom and the 1%ers. You're wrong. There are a lot of different levels. No one cares about you. No one cares. The fact they just think that you're nuts, they will let you fall to the wayside. They don't care. You think they do. You think people do. But I'm going to tell you right now, anybody that's not in that movement, that's going throughout life and having these upper level conversations and having these different going through different things and using their brains and using their critical thinking and and on upper levels of intelligence, they don't care. They don't care what happens to you. Do you know why people are still sitting in regards to January 6th? It's because we don't care. They've separated us enough to the point that the other ones say basically, I don't know what to tell you. Your fault. You shouldn't have went. You should have knew better. You knew it was set up. You knew this was going to happen, and you said you didn't care, so why should I care now? I mean, that's the truth. That's what nobody wants to hear. And is it the way they think? No, it's not, but I'm telling you what's really going on. I'm telling you the real thought process. That's the truth. They don't care. You were probably warned. I know people that were warned, and luckily something happened, and they didn't go. But dude, they were warned, and they didn't care. They were going to go. But what happened? Luckily, they didn't. But now you want me to care? Well, this is how this works. We don't now. This is what happens when you just say, well, I'm going to let you live your life. I'm going to let you learn from your mistakes. I'm going to let you be who you want. But please don't ask me to give a shit when exactly what I say happens, and you end up in a worse situation because of it. There are a ton of people coming after me right now, and a ton of people that have gone after Will a lot longer than me, because I'm calling people out and saying, I want to talk to you. I want to debate you. I want to prove you to prove this to me. I just played, and that was only 6 minutes out of 48 minutes. We got a long way to go and a short time to get there. But don't look at me and think I'm the jerk. Don't look at me and Will and say, you guys are assholes. You guys are jerks. Because no one else cares. I can literally tell you that they don't care. They specifically tell me, don't deal with the tinfoil hats. And you think they're specifically say, who cares? Those people are going to be those that those people are going to be. So maybe it's me being crazy. Maybe it's me having that sheepdog trying to say, protect people type thing that I have, that maybe I'm wrong for caring. Well, you don't care. You just like making fun of people. If that's what it takes. But you have to admit that what we're telling you, what we're showing you, what we're bringing forth to you, even though we do joke around, is facts behind it. We don't just pick on you with nothing. We pick on you and then show you what other possibilities are. Guantanamo Bay. Police are flying in and out of there, blah, 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 blah. Any of us could have said, well, there's a Navy base down there, and it's very possible that there's also, narcotics task force going on and things like that. No, it's all prison. Well, no, there's actually other possibilities. Let me show you. Oh, really? Yeah. I didn't know that. But they don't. So I've had the low end conversation with the call outs. I've had that already. Now I'm trying to give you an intellectual, higher IQ level, critical thinking level. If the other one didn't hit, this is going to, like I said, this might go right over your heads. But some people, it might say, oh, okay, wait a minute. That sounded, it might hit you in the head and say, that sounds, okay. I want to listen now. But that's up to you. How smart are you? How much critical thinking do you have? Because there's a lot of smart people that they don't have the critical thinking to say, that just doesn't make sense. They're very smart people, and they can repeat all this, and they can memorize this, and they can do all this, and they can, move forward with this. But the critical thinking aspect of it is what shuts down. And people go through this all the time. People, very, very smart people that are very common sense, critical thinking people, when they get emotional, when they get in times of stress, when they get to the point that they want out so bad and they want it to stop so bad, the critical thinking shuts down just for a little bit, and it's hard to get out. But what doesn't help, and which we're going to talk about, is the undecided people. And I'm going to talk about this. Like I said, we're 6 minutes in. Of course, I'm now, talking for 25 minutes. But this is part one. And this is something that you need to hear both on a simple level and an intellectual level. Because I'm telling you right now, there are a lot of people that are telling me or who have told me, let the tinfoil hats fall. They don't care about you. Matter of fact, they might even want you to fall so that there's less of you. But I'm down here in the trenches saying, hey, Will's down here in the trenches saying, hey, guys being sold bad goods. But you're not coming out if we just throw this at you. So this is why we do what we do on an intellectual level, an intelligent level, a critical thinking level. And the reason I'm repeating these terms over and over is because I want that to sink in. I want intelligence to sink in. I want critical thinking to sink in. I want intellectual to sink in. I want you people using their brains and processing information to sink in. I want that way of life to come back. And we're not going to get that from government because they don't want that. We're going to have to get that from our communities. And us basically saying, no, you're wrong. And us commuting and policing ourselves in regards to how we act, how we think, and that it's not okay to be dumb. We say it all the time. Well, this is what me and Will are doing. So if you're out there watching the planes and you understand that you're doing that, that's fine. But I'm hoping you're catching this one because it's up here. I know it's high altitude, but I am pretty sure if you just stop to think about it and pull back and listen to what I'm saying, you'll start to see this stuff like you can see the planes. And you don't need an app for it or have to pay $15 a month. But if you want to pay $15 a month, you're welcome to donate to the show. All right. That being said, I'm going to end this one here, part one. I got to throw it out there in every way I can. We got to be down there with the comedy. We got to be down there with the shots. But we also have to be up here with the conversation. Because we have to basically show that there are multiple levels to this. Join us. Come on up here. Learn with us. Now accepting applications. If we can hire Fall, the puppet, we got openings. As always, stay safe. See. Hey, this is Sage, the better part of the Defiant Discord podcast. Listen, check us out. Link's going to be down below. Check out the show. It's a great time. We talk about a lot of things. We have people on. It's a call-in show. But also, we're on Spotify, Podbean, iHeart. All these links are going to be down below. I'll throw them in there. But make sure you click on those links and get on that podcast portion of it, too. Because that way you can download it. And you can listen to me and that other guy all the time while you're doing your work and doing your things. And just check us out.